Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Friday edition of Moohead Radio. I'm your host, a big and furry bovine, and for the next however long my back holds up, we'll be talking Cleveland sports. And seeing as how this is an off week, of course, every week is an off week for the Browns, and we'll be starting out the show talking about the Cleveland Cavaliers and what's going on there. And the point of today's show, I try to have a point besides the one on the top of my head in doing some of these programs is to discuss things that you don't hear on other podcasts or other video programs across social media. And I'll tell you what you do here, and I'll get going about the Cavaliers. What you hear about the Cavaliers is the famous Cleveland fans, I hate this player kind of analysis. And God, I hate Jared Allen. God, I hate him. I hate him. I hate JB Bickerstaff. I hate him. I hate him. And it transcends basketball. It goes with every other sport in Cleveland. I hate Deshaun Watson. God, I hate him. I hate Nolan Jones and Lane Thomas. I hate them. This is what you get on a lot of the social media sites, and it's like, I don't mean to, look, everybody's got their own way of doing a show like this, but I want to talk about something a little bit more substantive. Hello, Ron Shane. How are you doing? Hello, Mr. Be Safe. How are you doing? The Cleveland Cavaliers are kind of a different situation. We had JB Bickerstaff as the head coach of the Cleveland Cavaliers. It sounds like, oh, is that true? My audio is coming through the camera? Is that true? I wonder what I can do about this. Oh, that's not good at all. No wonder it sounded goofy to me. What the hell? I don't understand. It sounds that way, Tony. I just hit a button and I don't know why it would be coming through the camera. Anybody else having an audio situation? There's an echo, like the room echo. All right. Well, the thing is I don't think I can. I wonder if I can. I don't think there's anything I can do once I start the program, and that really sucks. I'm gonna end the show. That's gonna change the destination of the program. I'm screwed either way. Oh, for God's sakes. How is it that you can't change? Let's see if I can go into audio here. Well, let's see here. How about that? Is that better? I think that might help. Anybody home? All right. How is that? Okay. Yeah, I don't know why it did that. It switched that on me. It shouldn't have done that. With the Cleveland Cavaliers, I give a lot of credit to the head coach of the team. I mean, Kenny Atkinson brought in, like resuscitation to a moribund SAT word, a Cavaliers offense, thanks to JB and his late father, Bernie Bickerstaff. The idea is a lot of motion and a lot of up and down and, not being afraid to shoot threes and all of that good stuff. And it's the stuff that was, in a 64-18 season, all the things were on display. Selflessness and, passing the ball and cavalanches and all of that fun stuff. And now we're looking at the Cavaliers a year later and we're saying to ourselves, well, they're not exactly playing inspired basketball. And what is the problem here with the Cavaliers? And people are going off, well, Darius Garland's not playing. Well, he played last year in the playoffs, as I recall. We did get rid of Ty Jerome, and I'll talk about him in a minute. And, we don't have Max Strus. Yeah, I know. And, Evan Mobley is just getting used to this new role. Yeah, I've heard that. How about something you haven't heard? This great offense that Kenny Atkinson has brought to Cleveland, there's two different ways of looking at it. The players who are playing for this team now are the same guys who were playing for J.B. Bickerstaff at his half-court offense. And it doesn't look like the same team this year as last year. But it is the same team, and they're running the same scheme. So what's the problem? And then it dawned on me. We want an up-tempo game where we bring the ball up the court and we get into our sets quicker, which is all fine and dandy. But the league is morphing around us. The NBA is changing. And we are trying to run an up-tempo offense with a bunch of slow fucking players. And my eyes don't lie. I'm sitting here and watching the situation emerging where teams that are El Succo teams coming back from 25-point deficits, and they're cavalanching us. Why is that? Because the Indiana Pacers started something, and not just against the Cavaliers, but a whole new concept, which is if you're going to do an up-tempo pressure kind of game, have young legs, young bodies doing it. We are trying to play an up-tempo game with two bigs who are slow, especially Jared Allen, with a bunch of guys like Sam Merrill who are slow, Jalen Tyson, who is slow. How are you going to play this kind of a transition basketball game with the players that we have? You're saying, well, how did we do it last year? Well, we took people by surprise. But the league isn't the same league. And I'll give you an example statistically, and I don't usually do analytics on the program, but I do know them. Full court pressure last year in the NBA, 2.8% of possessions is up to 6% this year. Twofold. Why? Because it was successful. Monkey see, monkey do. And for the Pacers, successful. For the Thunder, successful. So now everybody's doing it. And we're playing teams like the Wizards. We're playing teams that aren't really particularly good, and they were still running us into the ground, coming out and saying, oh, well, we're going to go into the pressure, and Cavaliers fall apart, just like they did last year. Throwing the ball away, not getting into their sets, not being able to pass the ball. The ball ends up sticking. They go back to J.B. Bickerstaff ball, and Kenny Atkinson was furious. We got to figure out what we got to do here, Kenny said, because that's not the offense that we play. But the second the game speeds up too fast, they play Bickerstaff ball. That's what's happening. And it isn't because of injuries, because it's too early in the season, although we have some. Not for the end of season lag that you end up with after 82 games and then go into the postseason. This is a different situation altogether. But we do have help coming off the bench. We've got Larry Nance Jr., who's old. And we've got Lonzo Ball, who's had more surgeries than you could imagine. This isn't hard to figure out once you think about it. And what I'm seeing in these games is teams and individual players. I want to look something up here for you because, you may be watching the games, but you're not paying attention to opposing players necessarily. And I want to go in and find the box score of our hideous performance against the Boston Celtics. And let's see if I can. It's not going to let me do that. God, I'll tell you, my computer is a clusterfuck. Let's go into NBA here. All right. And I'm going to go back in time, Huey Lewis in the news, and I'm going to look at scores, and I'm going to look at, and let me find where we were here. All right. 125 to 105. Can you believe that bullshit? But you look at the box score and you look at the players involved. Who in the fuck is Josh Minott? I mean, this is a Boston team that has one of their good players. The other one's out for most of the season or all the season. Josh Minott, Neemias Queta, Derek White, Jaylen Brown, and Peyton Pritchard. We made standstill white boys look like they were going absolutely bonkers out there. But the one that really spoke to me was Josh Minott, a guy who'd only played in 3 games in his NBA career, who was picked up for nothing off a garbage pile. He played 33 minutes. He scored 11 points. He had 10 defensive rebounds, 5 offensive rebounds, 15 fucking rebounds, 2 assists, and 3 steals. Neemias Queta, backup center. Who in the hell knows who that is? He was a plus 25 when he was on the court. And he was pushing Jared Allen around, and we weren't getting any rebounds. And who was getting rebounds? Everybody who wore green. That's who was getting rebounds. Queta had 13. Minott had 15. Derek White pitched in with 5. Jaylen Brown had 5. Peyton Pritchard had 3. Luka Garza. I mean, he could be something from a cheap Mexican horror movie, for God's sakes. And the guy still had 5 rebounds and 10 points out there. And the other thing that just makes me absolutely want to vomit, we made their 3-point shooting, which had been not good up to this point this season, and we turned them all into all-stars. Peyton Pritchard had a bad shooting game. He had 10 assists. Derek White had a bad shooting game. And you're saying to yourself, how can this be? How could they have won? And Jaylen Brown scored 30 points, which you knew he would do. Sam Hauser, 7 of 13 from three-point land. We start out the game, and they start out the game scoring 40 points in the first quarter. We couldn't keep it up, but they did. And with who? Anfernee Simons hitting 4 of 9 from the field and 4 of 6 from three-point land. Make it stop. How did this happen? Why did it happen? And the reason is the Cavaliers have a bunch of players who are slow. Most of those rebounds that they didn't get were long rebounds, and nobody even ran for them because they were stuck in their boots. That's the fact, Jack. It's really too bad because this isn't something that's going to go away. Everybody knows how to attack the Cavaliers now. And do you think that Darius Garland's going to make a difference in all of this? The Cavaliers are slow by the new NBA standard, and they can't play up and down basketball against younger legs. Even under-talented young players scoring points. Even the Wizards, for God's sakes, came back at us with nobody that I ever heard of basically on the floor, and they were flying right by us. So you're looking at a 3-2 record, and a lot of people, the Cleveland fans, oh God, he's hurt again. Jared Allen is hurt again, and Spido, it's his hamstring. It's like, they're not fast enough. When they're fully healthy, they're not fast enough. They were never going to beat the Pacers or the Thunder, period. They can't play at that tempo. But that's what the coach designed. What it amounts to is Kenny Atkinson learned a lot in his years as assistant coaches around the NBA. He did some yeoman work and with some teams that were fantastic teams. And he put something together that he noticed worked. But the problem is his players are 6 years older. If they were playing in the system when they first got going and they're quicker and if there wasn't this bizarre decision to play two bigs, it would be a different story. Not fast enough. And that's my whole analysis of the Cleveland Cavaliers. There will be games where they shoot the lights out, but you take a look at the players who they do have, and they do get injured all the time. Dean Wade will come up injured within the next 3 games. You can just mark my word. And I said I was going to bring up Ty Jerome and all this. Ty Jerome was wonderful last year. I think that he did a great job. But where was he the previous 2 years? Injured. Why do you think the Trailblazers couldn't get anything out of him? Injured. Where is he this year? Injured. Of course. Going to miss a month of the season. And he was slow, and he was exposed in the playoffs too. You can't have cavalanches when you're being cavalanched, and that's what's happening right now. And to make matters worse, they're all standing there in the locker room after the game, and we got to be better. We got to be better. And I am so fucking sick and tired of you got to be better. You're not better. How do you get better? You work or you change what you're doing if you can't do what you're supposed to do. Now, another thing about the Cleveland Cavaliers that is bothering the hell out of me. God did not decide that Evan Mobley was going to be the next superstar in the NBA, okay? It's not like Jesus Christ announced to all of his minions, this is the next guy. He's not Giannis. No. And he's never going to be anything approaching what they predicted for him for a couple of reasons. He can't handle the ball in traffic because the guys are faster now. The NBA is allowing certain contact. When he tries to put the ball on the floor, he gets blindsided and the ball's taken away from him. Now, does that mean that Evan Mobley's a lousy player? Fuck no. But he's being used wrong. I don't want him bringing the fucking ball up the court. It's almost like we're going to let him do everything so this premonition will come true that he is the next great player. Doesn't work that way. What he can do to be the best player that he can be is to find his spots on the floor, get the ball into his hands, and shoot. Mid-range, you notice that little thing he's doing mid-range off the backboard that always goes in? And then do you see when he's up at the top of the key and he tries to make a whirling dervish move, how many times he's turning the ball over? He's just not that guy. He's not Giannis. He doesn't have Giannis's handles, and he doesn't have Giannis's strength. Do you see him down low? Go up with it! Hold the ball up here! No. Get stripped every fucking time. He's not an in-traffic player. Inside out, yes. You can go inside out. He can get an open look at a three, and if they're not going to come out and guard him, he's proven he can shoot the three. But he's not strong enough. He doesn't have the musculature and the sheer strength. And you can't keep saying, well, he's only so many years old. You can't keep doing it. Year after year after year, he is, build-wise, what he's going to be. By now, Karl Malone got bigger. Giannis got bigger. And he has gotten bigger to some degree too. But the team seems to want him to be a unicorn. And it's hurting his game. And it's hurting the team. Now, the next thing. Trade Jarrett Allen. Please trade him. Nice guy. Really good guy. Great temperament. Especially if you're the opposition. He doesn't have an aggressive bone in his body. He may be, and he's really only 6'9" because but beyond that, he's got a, decent sized body, but no, he's not the ground and pound guy. Not at all. And he disappears. When you need him the most, he disappears. Trade him. It's not going to work with two bigs. It's just not. What you need is a forward who's a banger. Jalen Tyson ain't going to work in the NBA. He has no verticality, and he doesn't have the foot speed. If you're happy with him because nobody will guard him from the outside, he's the new Isaac Okoro. And he's going to shoot comparable percentages from behind the arc as Isaac Okoro. Doesn't move his feet as well as Isaac Okoro. I'm just shrugging my shoulders saying he's just another guy who was a two-way player value. I mean, second-round draft pick, and honestly, it doesn't impress me. We can't have him eating up minutes. The guy I was hoping, Naquan Tomlin, looked so bad in preseason. He just looked like he didn't belong on the court. And he's, and again, his late start playing college basketball probably plays against him in that instance. Yeah, we're going to get a couple of our guys back. And yeah, the Cavaliers should be able to make the playoffs, but they're not going anywhere. Not like this. The whole league knows they're soft. The officials know they're soft. Teams who play against us will foul us and not get calls. And that's what we have to look forward to. In the case of Bickerstaff, he refused to acknowledge that an archaic offensive concept was not valid in the NBA. What was true in the 80s wasn't true now. And what Kenny Atkinson is finding out, and he's smart enough to know that he's going to morph at some point because he can't run and gun with the best teams in the league. I mean, hell, the Celtics made them look like they were standing still. It was embarrassing. And part of it's a lack of speed, and part of it's a lack of drive. And that's the scary part of it. I feel bad about that. But I would trade Jarrett Allen because, you got to find physicality. You got to get respect from the league. If you don't get respect from the league, Yeah, exactly, Rick. Yeah. Oh, God almighty. The Cav-Nots. Okay. Done with the Cavaliers, but not done, with, and I don't want to hear about the Cavs' fatal flaw. We just talked about that. And now headlines. Was Evan Mobley forced into a role he's not built for? No, he was the second coming of Christ. Didn't you know that? They've made it 10 times harder for that young man. He's really a good ball player, but he's got to be used in the right circumstances. Next, I'm going to move on because I'm not talking about the Browns right now. Talk about the Guardians. The Guardians, because there are three major sports teams, and we just talked about the Cavaliers and why their situation and the window is just narrowed down completely on a championship. We were talking so high about championship possibilities. There is no chance. There is no chance the Cavaliers could possibly win a championship with this roster. It ain't going to happen. And I still don't understand the Lonzo Ball thing. Honest to God, the guy can't shoot. He's not fast anymore. Oh, but he's really a good passer. No. But he does those no-look passes. No. The Guardians. People say, what is it with the Guardians? Oh, it's obvious what's with the Guardians. They're stuck in a rut the same way the Cavaliers are. They made an immediate move to be a certain type of team, and they can't get off it. We're pitching first. We're pitching first. If somebody didn't tell me that Lonnie Shelton was the hitting coach, I didn't think we'd have one. He might be the hitting coach. He'd be the coach that I'd most want to hit. Do you realize how many outfielders the Cleveland Guardians have gone through in recent years who are nothing but busts? And I'll go back to when they were the Indians with the Lonnie Chisenhall. Oh, my God, my calf muscle. I can remember guys, Tyler Naquin. Ooh, I had an inside the park home run, but my body won't let me play anymore. The Grady Sizemores, the Bradley Zimmers. Do I have to keep going on? And it ain't big Christmas anytime in the summer, folks. Nolan Jones. The only good year he had is when he got out of Cleveland. Is that a coincidence? No, because the same thing happened for Ernie Clement and the same thing happened for Miles Straw. The second you come to Cleveland, you forget how to hit. This is not a coinky dink. This is reality. And so what do the Guardians do? Oh, the first guy we're re-signing is the 158 hitter. Yeah, Austin Hedges. We want Hedgie back. Yeah, we got some more pitchers in the minor league system. But now it's like they had the number 1 overall pick and they picked Travis Bazana, which rhymes with banana, which rhymes with Savannah, which is where he should be playing. And yes, Bazana is showing injury tendencies. Why in the world would you draft the number 1 guy who was a second fucking baseman when you had second baseman? Why would you do it? You could have picked any number of people, big power hitters or whatever. No, you picked this guy. And what has he done besides get hurt? He's hit below 250 in the minor leagues. He's going to end up being the next Ernie Clement, winning a world championship perhaps someplace else. Do you remember when they were saying, oh, we're just keeping the seat warm for Travis? They're not saying that anymore. And all the other guys who were up here playing at the end of last year because Bazzano wasn't, George Valera, he was the number one guy in the minor league system. Do you remember? I don't talk about the minor leagues much because there's no reason to in Cleveland. George Valera, he was the top guy. Nothing but injuries. Year after year after year. Injuries. And big Christmas. Well, he's going to find it. He's going to find it, in the next year or two. It's mind-boggling. What free agent do you want to get? What guy do you want to get at the trading deadline? Lane Thomas. He's hurt all the time, of course. And we turned him into Miles Straw, didn't we? It's so obvious what the problem with the Guardians is, and people say, well, they're cheap. No, they're no assessors of talent. They have no idea when a guy's young what he's going to be. The only one they hit on was purely accidental in Jose Ramirez. Purely accidental. They got him when he was like 17 years old out of the Dominican Republic, and he wasn't anybody. And he turned into a great player by coincidence, and that's the only one. What guy came up who's a hitter from the minor leagues who turned the league around? And now we've got Stephen Kwan, the feather-hitting leadoff batter who was part of Guards Ball. They had to make up a name for it because it ain't fucking baseball. It's Guards Ball. And the whole thing goes, Kwan's a pretty good hitter for half the season. And, he's going to get on base with line drives. He's going to lay down bunts. And, hey, he can steal second. And then the guy hits it to the right side of the infield. He gets to third. And then a sacrifice fly. We got to run. You want to know the truth about Stephen Kwan? If you didn't know this, you may not know this. So I'm going to tell you. They're not letting him steal bases anymore. You wonder why he hasn't done it nearly as much? They've asked him not to because of his hamstring problem. So what good is a guy who's a feather hitter who can get on first base only to watch the next three hitters strike out, ground out, pop out? I don't need to say more about the Guardians. They don't know how to select people from a draft situation. They don't know how to develop hitters. It's pathetic. It really is. And then there's the Cleveland Browns. This article got under my skin. This was the analysis from Cleveland.com. Just get your quarterback. Why solving the NFL's hardest position is the Browns' only path forward. And if I had more than two hands, I'd be giving more of these. What kind of analysis is that? That's like 52 pickup. That's like throwing as much shit on the wall and seeing how much will stick. The Cleveland Browns have so many openings on that team. They have an offensive line that is expired. Its expiration date hit 3 years ago. They need offensive linemen. They need wide receivers. Why in the world would you try to think you could get your fucking quarterback out of the draft when you're surrounding him with these bozos? The way you build a football team, you're going to have to take some pain. You've got to get offensive linemen. You have to get larger wide receivers. Who in the hell, even if Dylan Gabriel could play the game, who does he have to throw to? Here's a chilling fact for you. The wide receivers on the Cleveland Browns, and that would be Jerry Jeudy and Thrash and the whole bozo gang, 50% of their targets, 50% get batted away, incomplete. You can't live with that statistic. How are you supposed to convert third downs? You can't run, you can't pass. And your quarterback can't throw the ball more than 12 yards down the field. And you're worried about a quarterback. Now, it's hard enough to find players who will make it big enough in the NFL. And the Browns have done a lousy job with wide receivers. You have to get offensive linemen. You have to get wide receivers before you even concern yourself with a quarterback. As far as I'm concerned, Dillon Gabriel and Shedeur Sanders, those are the guys. They're the two quarterbacks. That's all you're going to get. And then you'll go to bed. Either that, you'll eat that, or you go to bed hungry, because that's what you're going to get. You got to start drafting players. You got to start putting people on the field that will make, I mean, you'll never know what quarterback you have. If he's playing behind these people, you'd never know. That's right, Rick. Yeah, they'll lose on the bye week. That's the but the notion of you got to get your quarterback. I mean, isn't that what Jimmy Haslam did? We went, oh, Johnny Manziel, you know. Panicking little prick. There it is, the headline on Cleveland.com. As if that somehow simplifies the process of building an organization. And they always say it afterwards. Like, did anybody even think that Patrick Mahomes was that guy? Did anybody think that Tom Brady was that guy at Michigan? I mean, really? How many people thought that a certain quarterback was that guy, and he turned out that either injuries or a bad attitude or whatever did him in? How many Jamarcus Russells were there? How many guys I mean, you can write them in the chat room, for God's sakes. The names of quarterbacks, the Carson Wentz's, oh, he's really going to be great. He's going to really be something. And they don't turn out to be anything. So why draft wildly when you can actually get people who are substantive position players? Which brings me to this, as far as the Browns are concerned. The Cleveland Browns are in a drafting good position for next year, and they're not going to be winning any more games this year. So they'll be in a better position at the end of the year. But now, the pick that they are getting from the Jaguars is going to be suspect because Travis Hunter is injured. Yes, that Travis Hunter, the generational talent. And this is the amazing thing. He was the number 2 overall pick out of Colorado. The Jags traded up from number 5 with the Browns, and you know the story. The Jaguars started out 4-1, and it looked like, oh, they're going somewhere this year. The Browns have their own number 5 overall pick. But now they're saying that Hunter could be out for a while. The thing that makes this so bizarre, Hunter is the 68th best receiver in the NFL this year with a 62.2 grade. He only really did something last week, his last game, and that's going to be his last game for a while. He caught his first touchdown pass. 7 games into the season. Generational talent. My point is not to say that he won't be a generational talent. Maybe he will. But with Trevor Lawrence, you think? In Jacksonville with Khan, you think? But everyone said he would be. But then everyone said that Shedeur Sanders was the second best quarterback in the draft. Nobody knows anything. Why were they playing him on both offense and defense? Only the Jaguars could do, or the Browns too, could do something that stupid. They needed publicity? Dumb. Now, the thing is, the Jaguars have some winnable games. They're up against the Raiders next, the Texans, the Chargers, and the Cardinals. And the three after that are the Titans, the Colts, and the Jets. They could win some games here. As far as what the Browns got for their haul, well, there's Mason Graham, who's slowly but surely disappearing as the season goes on. Got off to a nice start, I thought, but his PFF grade is not good. He's ranked number 58 among qualifying defensive tackles, and that's not the stuff of high draft picks. And then there's Judkins. You'll never know how good he is playing behind a bunch of old men who are crippled. So we got him, and then we got Sampson, who really looks more like Delilah right now. Somebody cut his hair because he doesn't get the ball anymore, and that might have something to do with Kevin Stefanski. Just a little. The thing that's troubling about the whole Travis Hunter thing is that his knee injury was a non-contact injury. And those are the scariest types. And the word still isn't diagnosed fully what the deal is with him. They don't know. It was like when Deshaun Watson had a non-contact knee injury in practice when he was in Houston in 2017, and you know what that turned out to be. The Cleveland Browns and the Guardians and the Cavaliers. And every year, the Cavaliers are the team that has the best chance of getting a championship in Cleveland because the owner is committed, not to a mental institution, but is committed to spend money. And we have legitimate players. I mean, let's be honest. As much as I moan and groan looking at the Cavaliers this year and their lack of effort sometimes, a lot of the times, Donovan Mitchell is an amazing basketball player. And watching him, sometimes the whirling dervish moves, the off-balance three-point shots, and it's something to behold. And for all of his refusal to get bigger and stronger, Darius Garland, we will see probably next week at the rate things are going as far as his progress is concerned. You know, he's a very capable scoring guard. And Evan Mobley is a fine basketball player, but he's being asked to do way too much. And they've labeled him in a way that is unrealistic. But that team is always going to be the team in the near future that is going to be the only one that we can say, well, there's a chance. And I'm saying, no, there's no chance. In today's NBA, you can see how it's morphed. It's speed. It's speed and a different kind of length, because length in and of itself means nothing if you're slow now. It's the guys who are 6'8", 6'9", 6'10", who whip up and down the court with the speed of point guards, but can finish at the rim. Big, strong, and fast. Giannis is a guy who reinvented what you're hoping for in a guy who, and seeing him going to waste now in Milwaukee is kind of a sad thing. But he's got just such dramatic strength. He's got, remember how Shaq used to bump into people once, twice, three times, you know? But he can go around you. He can Euro step you. He can go through you. He doesn't even need a reliable outside shot. That's how dominating physically that he is. He's a bigger version of a LeBron James, and LeBron James is still, in my mind, the young LeBron James is the guy that was the father of all of this. Big, strong, fast, could leap, could pass. And every year he played, got better shooting the basketball. Throwing things at the chosen one wasn't such a big deal, but claiming that Evan Mobley is the chosen one is unfair. It's unfair to that player completely. Now, I don't have an update. Maybe somebody in the chat room does. How many guys are not going to be playing in Cleveland tonight against the Raptors? The Raptors, Mr. Luthor. I don't know. Donovan Mitchell might be out because you saw he got off to that great start in the second half of the game. He might as well have had his leg in a sling. He was nowhere to be found. We already know that Sam Merrill is out. Who all's going to play and who's not going to play tonight? Has that even come out on the injury list? But there's a bunch of questionables, and one of them's my friend Jared Allen, who's got another fractured finger. You know why? When you're going like this, you see, and somebody hits your hand, you fracture a finger. I hope that explains that for you. And before I go, the Dolphins. Holy moly. Talking about laying down. And the thing that's amazing is McDaniel keeps his job and the front office guy gets fired. And that one is interesting. Why him and not the head coach? When they got down to like at the end of the first half, and it looked like they could get the ball in the end zone. The worst play calling I've ever seen in my life. A fourth down, and they throw a lob timing pattern to a running back in the corner of the end zone, and he stops running the pattern. Holy shit. Who's responsible for this mess? The general manager took the hit. Coach is responsible for this. They absolutely suck. And then there's what I call the great concession for college football. There used to be college football. Now there are 12 teams, and they call it college football. But what about the smaller schools? What about the schools that guys like Dino Hall played for and came to the Cleveland Browns? What about those schools? Well, they're hiring ex-players, the small schools and the HBCU. Whole story. Michael Vick and Deshaun Jackson coaching against each other. How about that? Just like the good old days. You couldn't even name what schools they represent. One's Delaware State, the other's Norfolk State. And does anybody really care? No. But they got to have something to talk about besides the same 12 teams over and over and over again. And every year, Notre Dame plays nobody, loses early in the season, and is still the number 12 team in the nation. It's just not honest. None of it's honest. College football, total waste of my time. You're not going to hear me talk about it. It's a machine to make money. That's all the hell it is. If you're wondering about the Raptors tonight, Scotty Barnes averages 22.2 points a game. The leading assist man is Quickly, the former New York Knick. But they have some scorers out there in Toronto. They got not only Scotty Barnes, they got Brandon Ingram, who, if he's not hurt, which he isn't right now, he's averaging 22 a night. You've got Barrett, the guard. He's averaging 19. Quickly is averaging 15. So they have the ability to average 121.4 points per game. So, and they got some guys coming off the bench. I can't. Every time this guy comes into Cleveland, it's like, and Dick's got the ball in his hand. I don't know what Dick's first name is, but it's just so funny. He comes out and on the back of his uniform, it says Dick, and it says, geez, that would be difficult. That would be hard to be judged that way. But Barnes is shooting 55% from the three-point line. Ingram is shooting 45% from the three-point arc. Barrett, 36%. They're going to go out there and they're going to try to get you in the open court, and they are going to try to spread the court and fire up threes like the Celtics did. And if they have a hot game, there could be a problem. That's who plays on that team. Now, the Ravens, they had an easy game, a romp through the park against a team that we had a romp through the park against that shouldn't still have Mike McDaniel as the head coach. The Ravens have been fined $100,000 for that fake injury report about Lamar Jackson. And you can't tell me that all this stuff doesn't have something to do with gambling. I don't want to get involved in the whole goddamn thing, but it's ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous. $100,000 fine for lying about a guy's physical status. And now something else that is going to make your day. If it wasn't bad enough watching female referee in the NBA, who is shorter, by the way, than Dylan Gabriel, trying to make calls on a professional basketball floor with men who were 6'8", 6'9", 6'10". And I noticed something when they were doing, going to the replay to see whether, a challenge is right for the coach or denied. She was not allowed to go near the screen. She was standing on the other side of the court with her back turned. She almost looked like a guard who was making sure that no fan ran out of the stands and ran out on the floor and did something. What is her role? Window dressing? I don't understand this. She was horrible. It got to the point where she was turning to the men on the court, not the players, but the referees, and they were jumping in and making the call because she didn't know what in the hell she was doing. It's an embarrassment. There have to be women who are good officials. Why you'd put somebody like that on the floor, I have no damn idea. But now it's getting even curiouser and curiouser as the NBA referees will be wearing headsets during games beginning on Saturday. That's right. The league made that announcement today, rolling out a 2-phase plan to implement headsets on officials. The first phase, which will continue into January, will see referees having the earpiece clipped onto their uniforms, then using it only during instant replay reviews and other stoppages, but not actually during live play. You know what that means? You're not going to hear any of that bullshit. Earpieces have two-way conversations. And these are not two-way conversations. Whoever's in that fucking replay booth is telling the official what to do. You see what the numbers are in this game right now? We need a big call to go in favor of the other team. Why in the world would you want more secrecy to a system that is corrupt as it is? In the second phase of this process, the referees are going to wear the earpieces throughout the game, including during live play, and be able to communicate directly with the replay center and each other at all times. That phase will continue through at least the All-Star break. So if you see the referee going, instead of paying attention to what's on the floor, he's talking to somebody in the replay center saying, you better come up with a bozo call against the Cavaliers here in the next 2 minutes, because this is getting out of hand as far as the score is concerned. We got to make this closer. God help us. I hope everybody has a good night tonight. I'm going to be watching the Cavaliers play, and I hope we don't let our home fans down. I hope we play with a little bit more tenacity, but I'm concerned that we're not going to have enough players to get it done. And if Donovan Mitchell's not on the floor, the points can't come from anywhere. And that's going to be a problem. And Jared Allen, if he has a boo-boo, may not play. And that may be good. I don't know. But I don't think we want to see, and a lot of our guys like Lonzo Ball and Larry Nance Jr., they could only play so many minutes because their bodies are broken down just from their careers and previous surgeries. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. I hope everybody has themselves a wonderful weekend, and let's hope that the Cavaliers can bring something good home. And I'll be back again. No weekend shows, no football game, but I'll be back again Monday, and we'll be setting everybody up for the next Browns loss. Thanks a lot for tuning in, and I'll see you again on Monday. Until then, hasta la vista, Pastor Heads. Good night.